Good afternoon, Coolest Coast. It is time for Coffee on the Coast. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge. We have a Bookstravaganza conversation. Manitowoc Public Library is here. First, we're going to talk with Librarian Lisa Devins-Horohoe. Then Laura Schreiner is going to join us in just a little bit. Lisa, you are here because we're going to be talking about the annual book sale. What should we know about this?
Yes, the Friends Use Book Sale is an annual event that everyone's really excited about because we have every kind of thing that you could be looking for: fiction books, nonfiction books, DVDs, CDs, specialty items, all kinds of things, and there are bargain basement prices. So it's really cool. You should definitely come down. And on Saturday, we do a really cool thing. It's called Stuff a Bag. And you can fill a grocery bag with anything that you'd like for just $4.
So if it fits, you take it all
Yes,
for
if
$4.
it fits, you take it home.
Okay, so this starts tomorrow. So it's tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday.
Yes.
What are the hours?
Tomorrow it starts at noon and goes till 7:30. On Friday, it starts at 9 and goes till 5:30 because we close at 6 on Fridays. And at Saturday, it goes to 9 to 2:30.
Gotcha. Tell me more about stuffing a bag. Do people need to bring their own bag or are the bags provided?
Well, you can do that. You can bring a reusable grocery bag or a grocery bag, a paper grocery bag, but we'll have some here on hand for you to use. We just ask that you don't bring a gigantic tote. That's not exactly fair. So another thing that's really important, and I almost forgot because we're busy setting up today, it is cash and local check only.
Oh,
So please remember that is cash and local check only. And if you forget the cash, that's not a problem. We do have an ATM right downstairs, right across from the main desk.
awesome. Tell us a little bit about the prices for the books so somebody can compare.
Yes. So adult books are usually $1. Youth books are about 50 cents. DVDs and CDs are usually about $2. And then there's some specialty items, unique items, some things like toys, some things like video collections. This year we have a collection of front pages of the big newspapers from the turnover of the millennium. So January 1st, 2000, from the New York Times, the Boston Globe, and it's all in this like collector's case. So though they will be specially priced a little bit more than these DVDs or the books, but still a steal.
Got it. So for like $10, you could go home with, a sizable new chunk of library.
Yes, yes.
Okay, where do all of these items come from?
A lot of them are donated. The majority of them are donated. A lot of them through our weeding process, we go through, and if books are worn or they haven't checked out a lot, or we have a couple of copies, then we weed to make room for new things, and then we put them on the sale.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so is it organized in some way? Like if somebody is looking for, a certain genre or a certain subject matter, how are the books displayed? Or is it just a free-for-all?
No, the books are laid out and we have big signs in between all the tables. So there are non-fiction books and they're listed by the Dewey number. So the 100s, the 200s, and we have little graphs that you can take that explain, what kind of books you would find in the 100s, what kind of books you would find in the 600s. And then there are basically broken apart into fiction, paperbacks, magazines. We only have a few magazines, and then children's and young adults. And then we also have this year a new selection of graphic novels.
Oh,
because they're becoming very popular, or have been very popular.
Okay, awesome. Well, that sounds really exciting. So, how does it work? Starts out tomorrow at noon. Is
Yes.
Everything there, or does new stuff kind of come out as space is made?
No, we generally try to. So we have a stockpile that we stopped taking new donations about a month ago. but all of that has been boxed accordingly. So, and then we bring all the inventory out and put it on the tables. Some extra is under the table so that people can still look at it, but we're not holding anything for the last minute. It's all out there.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so the Friends of the Manitowoc Public Library used book sale starts tomorrow, June 27th, goes through Saturday, June 29th. Do you recommend that people do bring a bag or a box with them?
We, it's always great to use reusable bags. And if you certainly know that you're a shopper, I would suggest doing that. But we do have some boxes if people are, make a really big purchase. And we do have some bags, but it's always appreciated if you bring your own.
Okay, I have found some great reads at the used book sale in years past. And I know one year I was just, I'm like, I'm just going to get one book. I just need one good read. And I ended up having so many I could hardly hold them. So,
Well, it's so much fun putting them out because you're like, oh, look at this and oh, look at that. And it's exciting. The cookbooks and all the different things. It's fun.
awesome. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today to tell us all about that.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited.
All right, everybody, that is the Friends of the Manitowoc Public Library used book sale. Starts tomorrow through Saturday. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.
And now, welcome back to the show, Laura Schreiner. This is your first solo book banter.
Yes, yes. We will do the best we can without Therese, but I promise you she's well. I just saw her Monday, and I had seen her for dinner Wednesday the last week. She's doing great. We miss her, but she's doing great. And she misses us and all of you as well.
Yeah. Awesome. I was thinking about sending her a message. I think I will.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And so last time when Therese was with us, we were talking about the book, Remarkably Bright Creatures.
Right.
And you had said something that stuck with me. You said, I wish I could read it again for the first time.
Right.
Just to have that experience.
Yeah.
And since then, I did get a chance to read it and I loved it. So I just want to put out a recommendation again. If somebody hasn't read Remarkably Bright Creatures, it's delightful.
It is really. It's kind of an awkward title when you first think of it. It's like, what is that called? Oh, it's just the octopus book. That's good enough. It'll get you there. So yeah, we'll know what you mean. Yeah.
I really loved it. I don't think I'm giving anything away, but I love how he had opinions about all of the other sea creatures that were in the aquarium.
Yeah. He doesn't hold anything back. No, he is very plain spoken and he's awesome. I don't know if there's a character like him in literature these days. I don't know who it would be, but he's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so you've got some book recommendations for us today. I have to admit, I did look at them in advance, and they all sounded great, so I've already placed holds on them.
Okay,
I can't wait to hear.
I hope they don't disappoint. Yeah.
Let's start with this one called Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson.
Yes. So this book is one I listened to, and it was a great listen. The narrator was fantastic. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It's a mystery thriller that does not take itself seriously at all. It is funny, which is maybe a weird thing to say about someone dying, but I mean, it's so, I don't even know this. I've seen a comparison. They say it compares to Knives Out and Clue meeting up with Agatha Christie. So it's part parody, it's part mystery. The narrator is very honest. He's very reliable, and he is witty. I mean, he tells you right at the start that there's going to be a murder in such and such a chapter, and he lays it all out. There's no tricks, but it still doesn't mean you have it figured out. By no means do you figure it out. It's kind of a closed room mystery because everyone's trapped in this at this resort during an avalanche. So it's kind of it's a pool of characters. So that's, I think, sort of where the Agatha Christie reference comes in, because it has to be one of these people. But it also follows, there's a set of, I believe it's 8 rules for a classic mystery that was determined by mystery writers many, many years ago. And it follows all of those like rules, if you will. But it's funny, but I didn't see it coming. What happened, I did not see coming. It's a little bit tricky. There's a lot of characters, but it's really, really, it's a great listen. I'm sure it's a great read. He has a sequel that has just been released called Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. So that is a brand new book by the same author, following the same character who is Ernest Cunningham. He's the narrator. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So the same character is carrying over into another book.
Right.
I did see Knives Out, and that was a really clever film.
Yeah. So I guess that's probably a pretty good comparison. This one is just funny. It stays with you. It's not, like I said, when someone dies, it doesn't seem like it'd be that funny. But the way they approach it, and he'll stop during his reading and say, "Now, dear dear listener, I know I told you such and such, but bear with me. I suppose he does the same in the book, dear reader. But when you're listening, you feel like you're having a conversation with this guy. He does a great job reading it. It's really, really well done.
Oh, it sounds really fresh and unique. And it's interesting
It
because
is.
the blurb on the bottom says, utterly original,
It is.
hugely entertaining, a must-read for every fan of the mystery genre.
I would say so. It's just, again, some of these come on kind of quietly and they just build a little groundswell, and I think this is one of them. We've, as a staff, we've passed it around quite a bit, and most of us loved it. We just thought it was really, really memorable.
Is it a relatively new book?
I want to say it came out in later in 22.
Oh, okay.
So it's about a year and a half old. But again, I don't even know who discovered it first. We talk a lot about books as a staff, trust me. We obviously do. But I don't know if maybe 6 months ago, we became really aware of it and started passing it around. Yeah.
Cool. Well, and it's really good to know that the audiobook is enjoyable. That's
the
a good
audiobook
performance.
is phenomenal. I love listening, but I don't love every book. I don't love every narrator. You don't love every approach. This one is just amazing. I wish I could have listened to it just straight through. It would have been great.
Tim says, as long as there's murder, lots of murder, Tina will be decently happy. That's actually Therese. Therese is the one that loves it.
She's the one who loves murders. Yes, she does. And in fact, I've been reserving books as I catalog them for her. I said, do you want me to catalog some that look good as they come through? Because she doesn't see them quite as much firsthand anymore. And she said, oh, yeah, surprise me. So I'm just reserving books like crazy for her. And,
Nice.
Things I think she'll like that look pretty fun and interesting, a little different.
It's cool to know, too, that as the librarians that you share the books around and kind of get different opinions. And the fact that multiple librarians appreciate the book is a good sign.
Because, we don't always. Sometimes we'll love, say, Peter Swanson or this person or that person, but it doesn't do it for everybody. This one was pretty much universally a hit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned 8 points that like a mystery writer tries to...
like rules for writing a mystery. And it was just,
you know
I
what
wasn't
some
aware
of
of
those
that.
are?
I can't recall anymore,
okay.
But yeah, I suspect, and I didn't read the book, as I said, I listened. I suspect they're laid out, at the front of the book because he does read them.
Okay.
It's like you cannot trick people. You can have red herrings, but you can't lie. You have to be truthful, but not completely truthful. You can't trick the reader, but you don't have to, you can put a spin on things. And it was interesting. And I think that's true. I didn't look into it, but I think that's actually factual.
Oh, that's nice.
That list of rules, if you will.
There was a show, kind of a murder mystery show that I had watched a couple of episodes of, but I just stopped watching them. It was a much older show, but it seemed like the resolution was always something that you could have never known as the viewer. Oh, it was this person because they ate a rotten egg salad sandwich in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
So.
He says, there's one point where he says, I know that some authors, every time a woman throws up in their story, it's a clue to pregnancy, but that's not happening here. He just works in these clever things because you think like, oh, I bet she's pregnant or whatever. Nope. And he'll tell you right now, I know that's what you think, but that's not true. So he will just put it right out there. He lays it all out right from the beginning.
That's kind of cool. Like he's walking through the mystery with you.
Yes. Yeah. He's telling you, I know this is what you're thinking, but that's not what happened here. But he doesn't tell you. He lets you come to it like you're an intelligent person. But he acknowledges that, I know this is what it looks like. Right.
Tim says, I don't know. You're no murder slouch, Tina.
Yeah, I think you'll like this one. I do.
I have to admit, before Teresa's great recommendations, I had never read a murder mystery.
Really?
Yeah. So she really turned me on to that genre.
Yeah. She's great at recommending murder mysteries. She's fantastic. Well, she was fantastic at all of it. She's a great reader's advisor. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, we've got another one, Laura. Tell us about The Storm We Made, a novel by Vanessa Chan.
Yeah. So this is one. It's there's so many World War II set novels, and it's a crowded landscape. One of my book group friends has said it's a crowded landscape of World War II fiction. So for something to stand out, it has to be, really different. Something's different about it. So this one is set in Malaya, which is, I don't think there's been one set in Malaya before that's been like widely released. So it's told from perspectives of 4 people you will not forget, but you don't necessarily like them. You don't like what some of them are doing, and they are in cahoots with the Japanese because they're trying to survive, and it takes a while before they realize, oh, this isn't a good idea. But again, when people are trying to survive and protect their families, you would do things that maybe you wouldn't do otherwise. So this main character is called Cecily, and she's trying to protect her family. Unfortunately, she has gotten very seriously involved with a Japanese general from the occupying Japanese forces, who she thought, She thought he was a good man. She thought he was honorable. Also, there was a lot of propaganda out there. And so they are being told all this propaganda. So what else do they have to counter it with? Nothing really. So they believe it. And by the time you realize it's not true, you're in pretty deep and people are in danger. And yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking, but it puts a different spin and you really kind of understand. I like things that make me understand why someone did something that I think is undecipherable. Like, why would you do that? However, I wasn't living there in 1943.
Right.
It takes you to a place where you kind of can understand sometimes why people do what they do. Knowing what we know now, it's awful. Like, why would you? But they don't have that advantage.
Right. When you're in the moment.
When you're in
You're
the
right.
moment.
I appreciate those kinds of stories too that
do
provide
too.
that sort of perspective.
Right. Because it really makes you think, okay, we all say, oh, I would have never done this. I would have challenged that leader. I would have stood up. Would you? Would you have if your family's at risk? I don't know. We all
Would you have
think
even had enough information to do that?
well, exactly. Even if you did, could you? So I like that fiction helps you to understand and walk in a place where you would never be able to walk otherwise. And it just expands your worldview. And this one, I think, does it really well. So it's really good. There are some really kind of gritty things that are not very pleasant. It's not horrific. They allude to things. They don't get very, very graphic about some unpleasant things, but enough that you know what's going on and enough that you understand why someone might do what you just think no one would ever do.
So Malaya, is that current day Malaysia?
Yes. So they're talking about places that personally, I'm not very well traveled, to be honest, not firsthand anyway, but places you've heard about, but I had to look at a map to see kind of where they were. And there's a map in the book, but they're initially resisting the British and they're being told that the British are imperialists and so the British are all bad. So you can put a spin on things where those are the bad people, and all of that sort of thing.
And there was kind of like a one Asia concept back around that time too, right?
Right. So these are the enemies, or they're thinking that's the enemies. It turns out maybe they're not. The enemy isn't who you think it is, I guess is how I would put this book. But by the time you realize it, you've endangered your family, and how do you get out of that?
And what's interesting is, when I think about World War II, you think about some of the big players,
right,
and some of the theaters that things happened in. But I have to admit, Malaysia was never on my radar at all. I never thought about the impact of the war.
Right. I think that's why this one maybe is different, because we just haven't been exposed to that, at least in this part of the world. So it's a little different spin. We seem to have a lot set in Germany, Poland, Russia, things. And not that nothing's more or less important, but we don't see a lot of that setting.
Yeah.
So this is a little different that way. Yeah. And it's been a Good Morning America book club pick, and it's been a lot of editor's choice picks and things like that. It's really quite good. It's very, very good. I don't know what else to say. You remember it. You remember it, the story. Yeah.
How new is this book?
Pardon me?
How new is this book?
I think it came out about a year ago. So it's on the shelf at times. It doesn't have like a super lengthy holds list. A lot of times it's on the shelf here. I don't know the current status, but you have a fighting chance of getting to it, I guess I should say. It's not going to be a long holds list if you're looking.
Nice. If a person enjoys it, do you know, has Vanessa Chan written other books?
This is her first, I believe. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing to debut with such a memorable and impactful story.
There have been so many debut authors. Remarkably Bright Creatures she was a debut author.
That was
her first. There have been incredible debuts coming out. A lot of them, there's a lot of buzz about them. Sometimes they live up, sometimes they don't. But this one's really good.
Didn't you say Bonnie Garman that wrote?
Bonnie Garmus, yep, that wrote Lessons in Chemistry. That was a debut. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, they are making big splashes, these debut authors. And I don't know, the backstory. I don't know if they had to shop around to publishers and hope someone would pick it up. But boy, they're making it look easy. And I know it's not easy, but some of these folks make it look so easy.
Well, I love the fact that you're making us aware of these gems. So, okay, you've got one more here. It is called Maybe Next Time, a novel by Cheska Major.
So this one is one that, again, one of our wonderful book groups made me aware of this. It's won some awards. It's new-ish. Boy, it's like a Groundhog Day. It's this person is living her life over and over and over again this one day, and she's trying to change what happens, and it just keeps going. So basis of it, it's the date, the anniversary of the date that she and her husband met 15 years ago, I believe it is. She met him on the subway in London. It's set in London. And he was wearing lederhosen for some sort of a play or something that he was in. And so she's attracted to him, and they have this wonderful relationship. But as things go, life gets in the way, and the kids and the demands and everything else. But they try to write a letter to each other every date anniversary of that date they met, because they don't get married for quite a long time. So it's the date they met. And he seems more sentimental than she does. So they show you the letters I think pretty much most of the letters at the beginning of a lot of these chapters, and the chapters are short. So it's his letter to her this year. Her letter to. He comes across seeming much more sentimental than she is. Sometimes she forgets to write the letter, but she doesn't want to admit it, or what have you. But she's also overwhelmed by being a working mom with all these demands on her. And there's so many relatable things here. And then some things happen, and something happens on their 15th date anniversary. And she wants to go back and relive it because she can't cope with the reality, because it's horrific. So then she wakes up in the morning after this awful event, and it's the same day. It's the day she just lived through. So she begins to realize she can change maybe the trajectory. She can change a meeting she had at work. She can change the fact she forgot to write the letter. She can change what she did, or where her husband goes so something doesn't happen, or what have you. And it keeps on looping through. She lives this day many, many times, which maybe sounds boring, but it's not really, because she's changing little things. And then you see another one of their letters, and it goes into the history of their relationship. It's really, really well done. It's, again, really fresh, really different. Maybe it isn't for everybody. I'll give you that, because I had a little problem at first with the time loop thing. Like, well, how is that possible? But you can't think too hard about that, because it defies logic. You just have to go with it. But you do have to read the letters, because there's a letter that really lays it out. I won't say, of course, which one, but there's a letter that if you miss kind of some of the nuances, the ending doesn't mean what it might mean otherwise. And at the end, I just kind of sat there. Here too, I sat there. I thought, I wish there was more to this story, because it was so beautiful. And I was really kind of teary-eyed about it. It was so gorgeous. And then it was over. And I thought, okay, the signs were there. The signs were there. The signs were there. It's a really neat book. I'm glad this book made me aware, because nobody at the library was aware of it. None of us had read it, so we've passed it around a bit. But you do have to read the letters. Don't skip any of the letters, because if you don't read them carefully enough, it doesn't make as much sense, and it's worth it.
Does she get her happy day in the end? Does it work out?
Can't tell you.
Oh,
Have to read the book. Have to read the book. It's very worth the effort, though, because it is kind of, you really have to suspend reality to read these time loop kind of things. And I don't always, there was probably a point in time when I would not have read that, a couple of years ago, maybe even. But I've come to the fact where it's like, a lot of things have a ton of charm, and give it a chance, And this
it does make you think about, like, if I could do one thing differently.
How would that change everything else?
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things she was able to change, some of the same events just happened in a different way. So she couldn't necessarily quite change everything. But at some point you find out that maybe someone else knew more than she thought they did about what was playing out. She wasn't the only one who knew something was going on. Someone else did too. And that comes out in a very important letter.
Okay. And so it sounds like it's not as simple as just there was one egregious thing that needed to be changed, that she had to kind of tinker and figure it out.
Yeah, it kind of made me feel like, sometimes we just get so bogged down in our daily life, and you fail to appreciate the little things until something happens and you realize those little things were the really big things. So she gets a chance to kind of go back and treasure some of those things that she had overlooked, things that were happening with her kids. But as the more time she lived through that day, she parsed out what was going on with her kids, because she wasn't sure entirely. They weren't telling her everything. And by the end, she pretty much had that day figured out. But
does that help her figure out her life going forward? Do you get the feel that
they just kind of leave it like that? You don't really know what happens from there.
Interesting.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, you just, I don't know. She forgets in that last letter she writes to her husband, which is just, she dashes it off. I think she goes in the bathroom or something and writes it. Doesn't want to admit she forgot. So she tries to make it look like, I had this letter ready all along, because he's always disappointed that she didn't think of it like he did or whatever. She forgets to write, "I love you" in it. And then she has all kinds of regret, whatever. But then, as she goes back and does things differently, some of those things change. And her life certainly changes. Whatever her life is at the end of the book, and I'm not really sure. It's open to interpretation. I guarantee she appreciates things more.
Wow. And so does it end up that it was all a dream or anything?
No,
That,
no, it's
okay.
not. No, it's not quite. No, it's not that. No,
Okay.
no. But again, it's not her version of reality. Is kind of parallel to what was going on with someone else who knew something different that she was unaware of. So you have to read it. It's hard to explain, and I don't think I'd have understood it until I read it myself. No matter what someone said, you have to read it and then absorb what those letters are saying, because at first they seem like fillers, but they're not. Like, you really have to pay. It's not hard work to read this book, but you have to be paying attention to the clues a little bit. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's what was going on there. Yeah.
Okay. I'm so intrigued. Have you heard the audiobook of it at all?
I don't know that it's out in audio. I don't think I found audio. I don't even know that it's large print. I think at this point it's just regular print. I want to say this might be, I think it's a debut for her, although I'm not 100% sure. I think she's a writer of some note. She is British, so we have not heard a lot about her. But it's really pretty good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you for the great recommendations. I just want to review what we talked about.
Yeah.
So the book we were just talking about is Maybe Next Time, a novel by Cheska Major. We also talked about The Storm We Made, a novel by Vanessa Chan. And then we talked about Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for the great recommendations, Laura.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for letting us expose these great books to people. We appreciate that.
What a wonderful bookstravaganza.
Yeah, you said it.
And then reminder, everyone, that the used book sale at Manitowoc Public Library starts tomorrow, June 27th through June 29th. Bring a bag, bring a box. Prices are enticing enough that you'll want to buy the treasures that you find. I can just say that much. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us for this episode of Coffee on the Coast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.